Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye must not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. And ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and salutations to your elect Akim across the four corners of this earth, kicking this word truthfully and sincerity. All right, Brother Sha'ar from the Great Millstone Dallas camp. And these next few months are going to be extremely interesting. I mean, if you're on your leads, if you're being a watchman, you can see the stuff that's going on all over the world right now, and it's just news after news after news. I mean, every day you can't not turn on the news, and every day you turn on the news, and if you don't see something going on, you're just blind to the truth. You know, it's the Most High is doing hella miracles right now. He's showing his wonders. And again, if you don't see this stuff, if you're not preaching this stuff, I don't really know what to tell you. You know, the scriptures say, feed my flock. So that's what we're supposed to be doing in this day, and feeding his flock. But the reason why I wanted to bring this lesson up, I'm going to bring up a topic. But first, I want to go into today being September, I believe it's the 22nd, 21st or the 22nd, but I believe it's the 22nd. And you have a state of emergency going on right now in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, and that's due to the whole shooting, these mass shootings that's taking place. But there's one in particular that happened up there in Charlotte. Okay, and I'm gonna pull up the article. But after that shooting took place, Jake protested through Black Lives Matter, and that turned into a whole state of emergency. All right, and really, ultimately, that's going into, and I'm going to read it again, but you see nation rising against nation. And when you see nation rising against nation, that's nationality versus nationality. There's ways you can think about it, you know, because these race wars are stirring up, whether you want to believe them or not. These race wars are stirring up, and they're actually taking place right now. It's just going to get more on a larger scale. But you see states of emergencies happening in these other places. You see shootings going on in these other places. That's ways to start the race wars, okay? But the thing about this, it's set up through the elites. You know, they're controlling all of this. We know ultimately it's Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai controlling of it, but it says the King Hearts is in the hand of the Most High, so he's controlling them and he's setting them up to do stuff like this. But again, this is happening before our eyes, and again, if you're spiritual, you can see these things going on. Now I'm gonna pull up a few articles just going into this because it's very interesting. But you have a lot of these elites that's funding stuff like this just so they can actually move their chess pieces, so they can actually set up certain ways to continue destroying Jake. Ultimately, what they started back then. That's all it is. They're trying to take Jake out the ball game. And when I say Jake, I'm talking about you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who are the 12 tribes of Israel, who consist of the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, but I'm gonna pull up an article. All right. And it's called Black Lives Matter Protest in Charlotte Turns Deadly. And this is HuffPost.com. All right. So as I go down, I'm just going to read a few, just some of this, just so you can see what's really taking place right now. So if you're not watching the news, if you don't know what's going on, so you're not left in the dark. This is an article going into what it went down these past 2-3 days. All right. So Charlotte, North Carolina. Authorities in Charlotte tried to quell public anger Wednesday after a police officer shot a black man, which is happening everywhere now. I'm talking about it just happened in Charlotte. It just happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma a few days ago. Before that, it's been in multiple occasions. I'm talking about this is happening every day. This is happening every day. All right. But a dusk prayer vigil turned into march that ended with the gunshot death of a protester. Okay, so that's what happened while they were protesting due to the whole Black Lives Matter ordeal. Which, what is a black life anyway? Like we always talk about, there's no such thing as a black life. There's an Israelite life, you know, black equals death. So technically black lives don't matter, you know? And if you don't understand what I mean when I say that, this is towards you. This is directed towards you. You know, it's obvious Black lives don't matter. They keep shooting us in the streets daily. They're trying to walk down the street screaming, no justice, no peace. You're not benefiting anything off of that, nothing but making your calves bigger. And that's about it, because y'all gonna do your marches, y'all gonna get mad, then another nigga gonna end up getting shot, and it's the same cycle that continues. But again, this goes into what the elites want you to do. They're organizing this. The elites are setting this up just so they can exterminate us. This is a way of extermination, okay? Again, it's just chess moves being played. But I'm gonna continue. All right, and it reads, the man was not shot by police who had masked in riot gear to keep the marches outside an upscale downtown hotel, Charlotte officials announced on Twitter. But the second night of violent protests added Charlotte to the list of U.S. cities that have erupted in violence over the death of Black man at the hands of police. So pretty much the reason why this all started, the reason why this whole protest, the reason why it's a state of emergency right now stemmed from a stemmed from a police shooting a so-called black man. It stemmed from an officer shooting a so-called black man. And they're going to keep on doing it. It's going to get worse and worse. This is what the elites want. You got stuff going on in Syria right now. They want to keep you pacified with a lot of bull stuff, okay? They try to keep you in a loop when it comes to these TV shows that you're watching. You know, these new video games that's coming out. A lot of people don't know what's going on in Syria, how there's actually a ceasefire agreement going on right over there, and they actually issued a no-fly zone going over there as well, you know? So it's just a lot of stuff, and that's not what the lesson's about. It's not about Syria, but again, it's a lot of stuff going on, but they want to keep you in the dark and try to put false flags in front of your face like bombs in New York, all right? But I'm continuing with this article. With officials refusing to release any video of the Tuesday shooting of 43-year-old Keith Lamont Scott, anger built as two starkly different versions emerged. Police say Scott disregarded repeats, demanded to drop his gun, while neighborhood residents say he was holding a book, not a weapon, as he waited for his son to get off a school bus, okay? And this just goes into this demonic energy the so-called white man has. You know, they're going to be quick to say that this man has a gun, but he's picking up a son from school, so why would he have a gun, you know? And again, whether he had a gun or he had a book, you know, it don't matter. Again, they're targeting you jakes anyway. Even though, let's say he did have a book, they're going to lie and say you had a gun because you are a liar and you are a deceiver. That's what you're meant to do. So again, with this being the case, again, reason I'm really just going into this whole Black Lives Matter ordeal because a lot of Jake will follow stuff like this and they'll claim that Black Lives Matter and do the protests and do this and that when they haven't even done research behind it and actually found out who funds this organization. Okay? So I just wanted to go into that article just a little bit just to show you like what's going on, the main topic about Black lives. But I'm going to actually go into who's actually funding the elites that are actually funding Salakia, this so-called Black Lives Matter ordeal. All right, give me one sec. This is tripping. Satan's messing with my stuff right now. Oh, wow. Okay. Give me one sec. Oh boy. Oh yeah, Satan don't want this to come out. Hold on one sec. Salakia, y'all. Boy, Satan. Alright, so let's see if it pulls up this time. Okay, Salakia for that, y'all. Satan don't want this word to come out, man. So let's see. So I have an article pulled up, and just so you see, it's you know, it's the elites who fund Black Lives Matter. Oh wow. All right. So you can type this in, look it up yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to look into it, you know, because somebody has to be funding this for them to have their vehicles, for them to be going to these different cities with large, you know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of money involved when you do stuff like this. It's not just an organization, a bunch of black people that put together and said, we're going to do this because, one, our people aren't organized anyway, you know, so you have a lot of these guys who invest in certain things here just so they can control what's going on. All right. So I'm going to read this. It says the Black Lives Matter movement began in 2013 when the use of the hashtag Black Lives Matter on social media after the acquittal of half Latino George Zimmerman in the shooting death of black Trayvon Martin. Now, George Zimmerman's dad wasn't Latino. I believe his dad was an Edomite, which makes George Zimmerman an Edomite, okay? In the shooting death of black Trayvon Martin. In 2014, Black Lives Matter attained national prominence for its violent street demonstrations and protests after the police-involved deaths of Michael Brown in Ferguson and Eric Garner in New York City. Okay? On July 7, 2016, reacting to the officer-involved deaths of two black men in Minnesota and Louisiana, which actually just happened recently, and you had a shooting that happened down here in Dallas, which we believe was a false flag, but they had did it on behalf of what happened to the men in Minnesota and Louisiana, and it was during a so-called quote-unquote Black Lives Rally. It's just interesting that when you have these Black Lives Rally, a lot of stuff happens, and you got state of emergencies, you have shootings and everything. I'm just saying, it sounds like people trying to do something out of chaos. But anyway, a black Army reservist named Micah Johnson shot 12 police officers in Dallas, killing 5 and wounded 7, as well as wounding 2 civilians, which again, we believe this to be a false flag, but I'm going to continue. We are told that before Johnson was killed by the police robot, he said that he was upset about Black Lives Matter and that he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers. So again, this is going into these race wars that's brewing up. You got a lot of these Jakes heated up. Again, we believe this is a false flag. You know what I mean? But still, though, this is that energy that's getting pushed out of Jake wanting to buck up against the so-called white man and kill him. You got a lot of people talking back and forth to one another. White people saying that, go back to where you came from, talking about if the man that got shot in Tulsa, Oklahoma, how dare you black people to do something, we're going to make it seem like what we did back in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You got them saying stuff like that, and you got so-called black man saying they're going to kill all white people. Okay? That's just the racial tension that's in the air right now. All right? And ultimately, it's just the Most High showing you that this is your oppressor. Okay? Like it says in Genesis, the 49th chapter, we are old lion, who shall rouse him up? He's being roused up right now by the oppression that's going on, by the death, okay? A day later, on July 8th, more than 100 people were arrested in nationwide Black Lives Matter protests, most notably in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Rochester, New York. Responding to the Dallas shooting, the New Black Panthers, in the person of Marisum Miller, Salaki if I pronounce it wrong, and new Black Panther advisor and head of the African American Defense League called the Gangs Across America to Attack Police, Miller wrote in Facebook post, quote, "We are calling on every gang, Bloods and Crips, and gangsters across the 4 corners to put in some work because these racist crackers have put themselves in your business. It's time for the Crips and the Bloods to shed the same blood." Okay, so what are you going to do after that? You're going to start businesses? How are you going to start your business? And whose money are you going to use to start these businesses? Okay? So our people really don't have a way out. They try to make their own way out, but our people don't want to wait on the Lord. Okay? They don't even know that the Lord is the one committing this judgment that's going on. But again, this is going into this racial tension that's heating up. And it stemmed from the whole Black Lives Matter ordeal. And you got a lot of these Jakes out here very upset, trying to make something happen, trying to make justice, trying to pretty much recompense justice themselves, trying to commit vengeance themselves when the scriptures say vengeance is the Lord's. Our people don't got no way to come against this devil. They got nuclear missiles. They got all these type of weapons. Our people got the Bloods and the Crips, people that kill their own people. They talking about coming together and killing these guys. All right? So I'm going to continue. In other posts, he encouraged people to also kill firemen because they are the same side as the police. New Black Panthers leaders, Babu Amwale, even boasted that New Black Panthers will take over 5 southern states, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, and Georgia, to create their own nation within a nation. So who or what exactly is the Black Lives Matter movement? Okay, now this is going into what exactly it is. This is Wikipedia says, Black Lives Matter is an activist movement originating in the African American community that campaigns against violence towards black people. The movement was co-founded by 3 black community organizers, Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi. All right. Black Lives Matter might have been founded by blacks, but the movement requires money to operate for protest signs, bullhorns, and transportation for protesters. And again, they brought up a good point, because our people didn't just organize this stuff. They didn't just come together, make all the signs, make all the t-shirts, make transportation, do all of that. No, it has to be some type of bigger business person in this to be able to fund them all of this stuff. I'm talking about, this is millions of dollars worth of stuff that's being pushed for Black Lives Matter. So who is doing this? All right, who are the ones that's really doing this? And why does it keep on happening? Why is it the same thing after a protest goes on? It's a shooting afterward, and people die and police get killed. You know, it seems like it's a cycle. All right, so I'm going to continue. The national scope of Black Lives Matter requires an infrastructure which includes regular communication amongst Black Lives Matter activists who pay for their cell phone calls, faxes, iPhones, and internet. Who does this? How can Black Lives Matter activists do all that if they also work at regular jobs? Just like us, we got regular jobs. So how are these people really just being able to afford all of this extra stuff for this quote unquote Black Lives Matter movement? All right. And if they don't have a regular job, who's paying for their food and lodging and transportation? In other words, who actually funds Black Lives Matter and therefore are responsible for the violence, deaths, and injuries of the Black Lives Matter protests? The answer: two groups. Democracy Alliance, comprised of very wealthy Democrats. 2. Freedom Roll Socialist Organization, funded by big corporations and foundations. Okay, now we're going to go into this Democracy Alliance. Okay, and if y'all got more information, by all means, bring it out. I'm just going to go into a few things. I don't want to make this too long, but I got some articles and I got some scriptures I'm going to go into. But again, reason why I'm going into the ones who fund this, because again, the elites play chess moves and they use certain people with their chess moves that they use. Okay, ultimately, this thing is Jacob and Esau. Okay, Jacob and Esau, and what Esau is trying to do is trying to get rid of you Jakes, just because that's what he had promised back then when you read Genesis the 27th chapter, the 38th through the 41st verse. Okay, so he used crafty techniques on how to get rid of our people, on how to exterminate our people. And our people are so sleek, they don't realize it, and they're quick to fall under a certain category just because they believe it's uplifting to the people, but they don't do any research on what's really going on. But that's our job of being watchmen, to be able to call stuff like this out and teach it, okay? Just so the elect will wake up, because we ultimately know you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are going to stay asleep, and only a certain remnant of you will wake up and speak against this devil and glorify the name of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, okay? Now, again, going into the Democracy Alliance, some of the biggest donors on the left plan to meet behind closed doors next week in Washington with leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement and their allies to discuss funding and burgeoning protest movement at the annual winter gathering of the Democracy Alliance, major liberal donor clubs, which runs from Tuesday evening through Saturday morning and is expected to draw Democratic financial heavyweights. Okay, so they're gonna draw some heavyweights, and this is gonna reveal who the ones that actually do this. All right, the DA, as the club is known in Democratic circles, is recommending its donors step up to check writing to a handful of endorsed groups that have supported the Black Lives Matter movement. And the club of some of its members also are considering ways to funnel support directly to scrappier local groups that have utilized confrontational tactics to infect their grievances into a political debate. All right, according to Democracy Alliances was created in 2005 by a handful of major donors. Okay, so now what's going into who actually is this Democracy Alliance? All right, and this is the key point, what I wanted to bring out on who's funding this Black Lives Matter ordeal. Who's the ones really responsible for all the deaths going on, all the police killings, all the stuff going on? Okay, and it's been happening for a while. You would think that they would stop doing it if it's this much chaos that's happening. But again, these people want us to destroy ourselves. These people want to destroy us. That's what the so-called white man wants you to do. That's what he wants. That's what he wants to do. That's his overall idea. Esau wants to destroy Jacob, period. That's just what this is. All right. So now I'm going to go into the names, who they are. So it says in 2005 by a handful of major donors, including billionaire financier George Soros and Taco Bell heir Rob McKay, to build a permanent infrastructure to advance liberal ideas and causes. So these two names right here are very big names. One of them's a big name. I'm not saying to the black community, but he's a owner of Taco Bell. And if you know the stuff that they actually put in Taco Bell, it's stuff that's detrimental to your health. And you're going to mainly find these fast food restaurants in your so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American neighborhoods. They don't put these in the rich neighborhoods. They put these in your neighborhoods because they want you dead. But they want to fund a Black Lives Matter movement, which is detrimental to our people anyway. All right. And again, these people don't want to stop. They know what's going on. They know exactly what's going on. That's why they're doing it right now. So we can continue to die. So it'll stir up this race war. And another name that really stood out was George Soros, okay, who's actually one of the top 30 wealthiest men on the planet Earth, okay? He actually funded Black Lives Matter as well. And when you actually do some research on George Soros, which I'm going to pull some information out here in a little bit, he's literally only doing this for our destruction. For your destruction. He's not doing this to benefit you. He's not thinking we need to do something about the police brutality. No, he's further pushing the idea, pushing the agenda of you so-called white people destroying you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, and I'm going to go into why. Including billionaire financier George Soros and Taco Bell heir Rod McKay to build a permanent infrastructure to advance liberal ideas and cause donors to require to donate at least $200,000 a year to recommended groups, and their combined donation to those groups now total more than 500 million. Endorsed beneficiaries included the Center for American Progress, think tank, and the liberal attack dog Media Matters and the Democratic data firm Catalyst, though members also gave heavily to Democratic politicians and super PACs. Okay, now I'm gonna jump down to billionaire George Soros, whose funding of Black Lives Matter protests is well documented by FOTM. Okay, now I'll go into this. I guess I'll click the link. Okay, you know, it is what it is. But pretty much I'm gonna pull up another article because a key beneficiary to this whole Black Lives Matter ordeal, or a key component to this deal, why it's running, is George Soros, who again is one of the most wealthiest men on the planet Earth. Now, when you go to George Soros, the reason why I'm pulling this article up, again, you know, it's Satan messing with my stuff, but he has funded more than just Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about he's one of the richest men on the planet. And when you look at the stuff that he's into, you'll really see that he's not for Black lives or so-called what a black life is, but he's actually against it. And he wants really ultimately just to push race wars. He wants to exterminate you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and that's through the elites, because he's up there with the elites. The elites tell him what to do. Pretty much all in a nutshell, he's in cahoots with them. Okay, he does their bidding in the sort. All right, so I guess I'm gonna type this in again really quick. Give me 1 sec. All right. Let's see here. Boy, Satan, man. Let's see here. I found a really good article, and I believe this one possibly will be it. Yeah, this is it. The Wadi Haba Shimi Hawashad. Okay, so George Soros, this is other stuff that he's helped finance. Like I'm gonna bring out something else that he helped finance, which was Planned Parenthood. Okay, and if you know and research Planned Parenthood, that's where you got the abortion clinics. Of course, they do more stuff, but they're mainly known for being an abortion clinic or abortion clinics that are scattered throughout the United States. And if you actually look up the abortions, the so-called black woman is leading the whole world, is leading everybody in abortions, all right? And that's actually how you cut out a nation of people, is by going to a certain particular group of people and putting them in ghettos, taking their fathers out the equation so the mother is raising their children. And, you know, when they feel like they can't take care of their child, or when they're pregnant and they don't know what to do, they go to the abortion clinics. That's how you do it. And you have this man also funding the Planned Parenthood, all right, funding for abortions, all right? And this ultimately goes through eugenics. And Hillary Clinton also said that she actually respected Margaret Sanger and what she did. And when you actually look up Margaret Sanger, she's one of the founders of the eugenics program via Planned Parenthood. Okay, Now, I don't want to go too off subject. This link is a little different than the one I pulled up before, but I'm just going to go into it because it looked like it has some interesting meat on here. All right, so the son of pro-abortion billionaire George Soros has donated $1 million to the political arm of the Planned Parenthood abortion business. The abortion company has endorsed and is actively working to elect abortion activist Hillary Clinton president and is itself sinking $20 million into a campaign to push her into the White House. Okay, so these are the people this is the woman that you want running your country, and look who's helping finance this, the Soros family. Okay. Now, in the other article I pulled out, which Satan didn't want me to pull up before, the other article I pulled out, and of course I'm going to read more on this one, but it went into how George Soros financed, or he had invested $1.5 billion in Planned Parenthood with their whole trafficking baby parts. Because when they were trafficking baby parts, Salakia, that information got pushed widespread. So he had financed $1.5 billion to help hide that information so it wouldn't give Planned Parenthood a bad name. So he pretty much financed money to help hide that information that they're selling you, the baby fetuses of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And this is the same guy that financed Black Lives Matter, that put millions and millions of dollars into the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Okay. And again, this is just going into eugenics, how to kill you people off. It's ultimately ran by the elites. Okay. The Soros family is no stranger to promote both abortion and the Planned Parenthood Abortion Corporation. The Washington Free Beacon has more on the donations. Jonathan Allen Soros, who is his son, the chief executive officer of JS Capital Management, LLC, and son of liberal billionaire George Soros, made a $1 million donation to Planned Parenthood votes during the month of February. Newly released Federal Election Commission report shows Planned Parenthood votes, the political action arm of Planned Parenthood, received donations from 11 individuals, totaling at $2,723,297.17 in February. Jonathan's contribution was doubted that the next largest donation given to the group, Jay Pritzker, managed partner at the Pritzker Group, an investment firm, provided the second largest contribution throughout February in the amount of $500,000. Jonathan Soros is not the only member of the Soros family to pump money to Planned Parenthood votes this year. The group pulled in $538,585 just from 5 donors in January, including $250,000 from Andrea Soros, Colin Bell, president of Trace Foundation and daughter of George Soros. The Planned Parenthood abortion business announced in November that it plans to spend $20 million to elect pro-abortion Hillary Clinton president and take over Congress. This comes after the abortion giant has been caught up in a massive scandal involving the sales of aborted babies and their body parts, what I mentioned earlier. Okay, and again, you can research this yourself, but the article, again, Satan didn't want me to put an article up because I had that article, but it pretty much went into how George Soros financed 1.5 billion or either 1.5 million, either or, a lot of money into hiding the fact that they were trafficking baby fetus body parts. Okay, and he put money in there to hide that so they wouldn't frown against Planned Parenthood. Okay, because that information got out there. All right. Extremists made the 2016 election about attacking reproductive rights. Planned Parenthood President Cicely Richards says in a new promotional video to abortion activists. Enough is enough, Richards said in the video. With our supporters, we're launching One Vote Planned Parenthood Action. We'll organize and mobilize to elect lawmakers who are in the corner. All right. And that's it on that one. It gets a ton of more information if you want to go into that. I'm just pulling up the connection and link with George Soros, what he funds. And a lot of you jakes are walking into something blindly, going into the whole Black Lives Matter ordeal, when George Soros funded that, and he's the same one that funded Planned Parenthood, which is detrimental to our people, pretty much, to Israel, to the body. Okay. But again, 2/3 of y'all are gonna go into it and not care anyway and keep on doing what you're doing. That's why you're gonna die. All right. But the elect's gonna wake up to this madness. Okay. Now I got some scriptures I'm gonna go into. And Lord willing, this is edifying. It's just something I was researching before, And I forgot what I was watching, but it was just going into how George Soros is trying to push a race war. So I just tried to dig a little deeper into that. And he's with him pushing this race war, he's trying to help and make it seem like he's on your side, when actuality he's doing nothing but speaking these sweet words to you. Okay? And that's what all these guys do. That's the elite's job, is to be a devil, and that's what they're doing. Okay? I'm gonna go to the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter. And I'm going to start at verse 1. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thy silence, O Lord. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O Lord. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult. Okay, and let's go to this word tumult. That word there is hama, okay? And it means a murmur, a growl, roar, cry aloud, mourn, rage, sound, make noise, tumult, be clamorous, be disquieted, be loud, be moved, be troubled, be in an uproar. Okay, and that's what they're doing. You know, that's what the so-called white man's doing right now. It's an uproar. Donald Trump being in office, race riots spewing off. Our enemies are making a tumult. And ultimately, you got the elites who got their hands in the pots of doing this. All right. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name Israel may be no more in remembrance. And how did they do that? By giving you the title of being an African American. Okay, by funding Black Lives Matter movement when they know it's detrimental to our society. Okay, when they know it's bringing death and destruction to us, and they keep furthering it. Okay, put Planned Parenthood neighborhoods in your, Planned Parenthoods in your neighborhoods. When they know that our people are the main ones going to these abortion clinics, getting abortions, killing their children. How else do they do that? Putting McDonald's in your neighborhoods, Taco Bell's in your neighborhoods, Burger King's in your neighborhoods, when they're serving you human fetuses. Actually, when you research that, a lot of the meat that you're eating is human fetuses, dead bodies, and they also put other sinister demonic stuff up in that food, and they got our people eating this stuff. Okay, this devil has never been for us. He'll try to speak smooth things to you, but ultimately, like it says in the scriptures, war was in his heart. And that's what they do. They have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assur also joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. Okay, so I got another scripture I'm going to go into. Just give me one sec. It's in the book of Psalms chapter 64. And I'm going to start at verse 1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O Lord, and my prayer preserve my life from fear of thine enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And that's what they're doing. They have counsel together. You got the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg. You got a bunch of other organizations, and they all come together on one consent and plan against you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And you got a lot of guys like George Soros who's involved with this. Okay, they have crafty counsel again with one another, so they can find out how to take us out of the game. Because ultimately, this goes back to Jacob and Esau again, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, hide me from the secret counsels of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bent their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares. Privily they say, who shall see them? And how are you laying snares? Okay, you put these Planned Parenthoods in neighborhoods and tell you that we're doing this for you because we know there's a lot of black women who are out there single who need a chance in life. So you go there and you kill your children. Okay, even though you're the ones that put the stuff in our neighborhoods, you're the ones that give us the guns, you're the ones that give us the drugs, you're the ones that's detrimental to us. Okay, but they're wetting their tongue like a sword, speaking smooth things, saying lies. Okay, other ways that they do it is helping finance a Black Lives Matter protest, saying you're all for this. They shouldn't be killing police. Police shouldn't be shooting people. But at the same time, you keep on doing this and you finance it, knowing that the police are going to kill these people and knowing that people are going to get riled up and try to kill the police so you can start a race war. Okay? They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Because they don't think that nobody's going to see what they're doing, but the elect sees what you're doing. Ultimately, the Most High sees the stuff that you're doing, and he's revealing this stuff to the elect so they can preach against you, all right? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them in heart is deep, okay? And their hearts are wicked. Their thoughts are wicked, okay? They try to come against the apple of the Lord's eye. Ultimately, this devil's not going to win. But 2/3 of our people gonna get caught up in that snare, like the scripture said. They're gonna get caught up in this trap. Okay? I got one more scripture I'm gonna go into, and hey, all of them are in Psalms. But I'm gonna go to Psalms chapter 55. I'm gonna start at verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. And he did break his covenant. He broke his brotherly covenant. And that's when he had said that he was going to seek out to destroy Jacob. And that's what you see right now. Like it says in Ezekiel, the 25th chapter, he's trying to take vengeance on us. All right. And he's doing that through pestilence, through wars, through lies, through deceit. Okay. He had put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. All right. And when you go to war, that goes into the destruction. Death is in his heart. He'll speak smooth things to you and say he's doing this to help you out, but really he's doing this to kill you. That's that crafty counsel that they come together when we read Psalms 64th chapter. All right. And his words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Okay. And that's like we read in Psalm 64th chapter. They whet their tongue like a bow and they speak deceits. All right. Cast thy burden upon Yahweh, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. And the elect's not going to be moved out of this thing. The Lord opened the elect's eyes up to see what this devil's doing. The Lord opened the elect's eyes up to prophesy against this devil. Okay. Verse 23. But thou, O Most High, shall bring them down into the pit of destruction. Bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days, but I will trust in thee. Like it says, binding their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. That's what's going to happen ultimately, because they tried to come against the apple of the Lord's eye. And the Lord's just making their heads get bigger and bigger and bigger, like he blew Pharaoh's his head up. Okay. And that's ultimately going to lead to his fall and destruction. And that's what's going to happen. But this stuff has to come to pass, like I read in Matthew, the 24th chapter. Because this is only the beginning of Soros. This state of emergency that we see in Connecticut, beginning of Soros. All right. The stuff that's going on with the gas and oil out there in certain southern states, beginning of Soros. Earthquakes in diverse places. There was an earthquake down here in Irving, Texas earlier today. It was a 2.5. You had one in China today, 5.8. You got different ones every day. Beginning of Soros. This stuff has to come. But Lord willing, this video was edifying. I didn't want to make it too long. I just want to pull out some points going into how this devil operates and how they playing these chess moves, man. The elites are playing chess moves, and they use certain people like George Soros, Bill Gates, who actually is another funder of Planned Parenthood. They use people like this in order to stir you people up and have you believing that these guys are the good guys. But ultimately, they're out for your destruction. All right. But ultimately, I want to give all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutation to your elect Akim, kicking his word, sincerity and truth. Man up. Shalom.